Welcome to Althing Considered, a conversation on life and faith in heathenry, Asatru and Norse paganism from the Troth, education and service for the use of heathenry.
Hi, everyone. I'm Piper Perry. It's September 27th, 2024, and this is Althing Considered, brought to you by the Troth as a community service. Althing Considered is our news program where we cover stories from around the world that pertain to heathens and heathenry and let you know where we are and what we're doing. We're at the end of Pagan Pride season in many places and spaces, and we here at the Troth take those opportunities to get to know you in person. For those of you that have come out and said hello, thank you. Our upstate New York steward, Kurt Holman, reports that there was a lot of interest this year at Central New York Pagan Pride Day. The 24th year of the event, from 40 people in the year 2000 to 1,800 people in 2024, Holman and his inclusive kindred have been meeting people and building community. Congratulations. I will be in Fort Collins Pagan Pride from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time at the Fort Collins City Park on Saturday, October 5th. As we always do when we're out in Colorado, we bring water as a gesture of hospitality for anyone who comes by. Also, Heathen Essentials, which is one of our best, and you do not have to be a member to be involved. Heathen Essentials meets every other Saturday and has a vibrant social community with Monday evening social chats on Facebook. For other events and appearances, please check out our website. Our first story is about 50 well-preserved Viking-age graves found in Asum, Denmark, near Odessa, or Desi. A town dedicated to Odin has a lovely Iron Age village where you can go and see how the people lived on that land. This find had graves dating from 850 to 970 Christian era. Found earlier this year, archaeologists from the museum have just finished packing up the last of the finds for analysis at the Panum Institute at the University of Copenhagen. According to Vendenskab, Denmark, what makes this series of graves interesting is that the skeletal remains are in surprisingly good condition. This is due to a combination of good soil conditions and high groundwater levels that ensure low oxygen penetration, therefore slowing down the decomposition process. This extraordinary find includes a rare carriage grave, which is a sort of a grave fading where all of the organic matter has rotted out, but you have nails left. And it looks like the top of a carriage. This type of burial was only used for a relatively short period of time, the 890s CE, and was used for women of high status. That analysis will form the basis for DNA testing to see what kind of population lived there. Our second story is about white supremacist vandalism on Colorado hiking trails. White Lives Matter, a group based in Jefferson County, Colorado, have been vandalizing the many hiking trails that run through the beautiful wilderness here. According to Front Range Antifa, they've been cleaning out various paintings and other violations of the wild for this entire summer. However, this last weekend, the white supremacists poured cement into the root structure of a small bristlecone pine tree, which is a vulnerable species here in Colorado. And a vulnerable species means not currently endangered, but faces a high risk of endangerment because of human encroachment. So pouring the cement into the root structure of the tree made it impossible to remove the offensive sign. So in a gesture of true kindness, hikers covered this sign with rocks until Front Range Antifa could sand the offensive sign away. As steward of Colorado is a strange combination of very leftist living right next to far right people. White supremacy is and has been, is, and will always be an issue here unless we do things to address it. But I am gladdened by the actions of random unnamed hikers who covered this offensive message with stones to protect their fellows. Thank you. Our third story is about white supremacists marching in Minnesota. According to the Minnesota Star Tribune, a handful of people displayed white supremacy messages on banners over Interstate 694. Several lawmakers came together in solidarity to denounce these messages. We denounce any ideology or group that seeks to dehumanize people based on their race, ethnicity, religion, or any other identity, the statement said. We stand together against hatred in any form and are committed to building community where everyone feels safe and valued. On a lighter note, our last story is a piece in Hardcore Gamer about the 10 best Age of Mythology types games, and one of their choices was Northgard, which they describe as a fun dive into Norse mythology. It's a strategy colony building game, and you play alone or co-op, which is a selling point for those of us who like to game with our friends. Ranked number 4 in their top 10, My Resident Gamer says, if you like real-time strategy or city builder genres, this is a fantastic game. It has elements of both with a strongly Norse-flavored story mode. It also has single and multiplayer competitive modes. Even the story mode has a lot of replayability because there are bonus goals on each story level. And as just a reminder, North Carolina has purged 747,000 people from its voting rolls in the last 20 months, citing incorrect addresses as the most common reason people are being removed. If you're in North Carolina or any other state, go to vote.org and see if you're still registered. All right. And we have a fun one this evening. Several European far-right figures have been using the word remigration in their speeches. In a story published in the HuffPost, they quote Martin Sellner, a tweet he made on X. He is the leader of the Austrian chapter of Generation Identity, a pan-European white supremacist network. In that tweet, he said that remigration was born in France popularized in German-speaking countries, and now the term of the hour from Sweden to the USA. Remigration is a euphemism for ethnically cleansing non-white people from Western countries. It is part of the Great Replacement theory touted by the far right across the globe. Alternative for Germany, or AFD, which we've covered in another episode, uses remigration in their official policy proposals. And this year in Austria, the far-right Freedom Party, who were successful in national elections, have called for a remigration commissioner for the country. This has become part of the anti-immigration sentiment here in the US as well, mixed with false stories of immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, eating pets, and accusations of immigrants poisoning the blood of the nation. Anti-immigration messaging and the racism inherent has become more ubiquitous and more obvious. Immigration is a complex, nuanced topic, and it is different in different locations in the world. In the spirit of hospitality, we should try to understand our local immigration landscape and pitch in to help those people who have come to our shores for better lives as much as we can. Tonight, we're talking about volunteers and volunteering. And tonight, our volunteer coordinator, Chloe Tartt, joins us to talk about the program. Welcome, Chloe.
Thank you.
Awesome. Just why did you volunteer for the trip?
So that goes into some just personal, a personal habit of mine of seeing big events, seeing, processes, seeing things as this is a bunch of boring stuff that needs to get done in order for fun stuff to happen. And for me to understand that, and looking at the Troth and looking at what's going on, I had a great time when I initially joined the Troth, meeting everyone at Trothmoot in 2023. But I know that in order for the Grand Sumble to happen, a lot of things had to happen before then in order for things to go on. In my life prior to becoming heathen, I was spending a lot of my time as in fandom spaces. So I was used to being in places like comic conventions and in gaming tournaments where that kind of participation was not just looked up upon, wasn't just something that was encouraged, but was something that was a point of pride. That I showed up, I turned up, and I got things done.
Okay. As the volunteer coordinator, what's the process to volunteer? What do people have to do?
Simply right now, it is just to ask. Get in contact with whatever department that you want to volunteer for. Make contact. Right now, we also have a job listing board. If you want to get involved with the Troth and you want to help out, just log into the website. And then once you log in, on the left-hand side, there's going to be an option for jobs. And then from there, you can go ahead and email me directly using the link on the job listing. And then we should be able to get you then to the appropriate department and get you set up.
Fantastic. What kind of training do volunteers get?
Oh, it's it is very much specific to the department that you're in. We currently do not have like a base set of training for General Troth officers and General Troth volunteers. That's something that I'm looking to work with our education team on, and bring training into volunteering, which is, as far as I'm aware, not happened yet, but I could be wrong.
I think we're working on a manual and a package that we can give people based, sort of a basic package and then sort of a supplement for, and this is the department you're working for, right?
Right.
And these are the people involved and that sort of thing. We are working on that.
Right. But as far as like training, as far as like volunteer education and vocational education, that is something that we are looking to start, and I am working with my assistant on getting those resources available to us.
Fantastic. We've been talking about just for all of you in out there. One of the things that we have been doing in a more sort of professional way, as well as to correct some problems we've had in the past, there is to be an officer anyway, a background check, relatively really easy. I have one for a different volunteer gig that I have, but it's important to sort of and also part of that training we want to put in like conflict resolution. In fact, we got a link from our president just this week about a conflict resolution class in October. And I have certifications in nonprofit marketing now. So volunteering in the truth, you actually get access to a lot of programs that nonprofits train people through. So it's fabulous.
And again, it's one of those things where we are looking after each other, because that came from our president, and that was an awesome, and that is something I'm going to be signing up for. As well, excuse me, I just need to.
That's okay. Totally cool.
As well, we're also looking at not just education and vocational education and soft skills, but also potentially getting. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I want to apologize.
Just so we're all clear, we're all neurodiverse. It's cool. Sometimes trains of thought get lost.
Yes, so we are looking to bring those. We are looking to bring those programs and resources available to as many people as we can get them out to.
Awesome. What do you get out of volunteering?
Personally, it's a matter of knowing, and like I said, it's a matter of getting to that place where exciting things happen, because a lot of unfortunately boring things got done. You know, when you're talking about showing up for Pagan Pride, you know, setting up the table, setting up the tents, setting up the water systems, and whatever else needs to get set up, there's a certain satisfaction in that in that job well done.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what I get out of volunteering, is getting that internal sense of like contributing to this greater thing that we call heathenry, and being able to be an active agent in pushing it forward into this world.
Fantastic. How has volunteering changed your view of the Trove?
Ooh, so my view of my view of the Troth initially started with Troth Moot 2023. The moment that I realized that the Troth was the real deal and to join and to get involved was when I was hanging around with Rob, and Rob was speaking to an elder about the old days, about getting things done, about doing prison inreach, and hearing about like the work that is available to us that could be done in this world. Nothing has changed from that perspective of like, what are we as the Troth? Well, we are heathenry. We are the heathens that showed up and got together. And if anything, volunteering has only strengthened that, because even more, I get to see who is showing up. I get to see who is volunteering. I get to see who is raising their hands. And the overall feeling that there is something more than just, being on your own and worshiping on your own and working on your own. Being in community is so refreshing, because there's so much more that you can get done together than you can on your own.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have a lovely comment from one of our volunteers as to why they volunteer, what they get out of volunteering, which I always very much appreciate, because, volunteering is pretty much a nonprofit 501c3's organization. It's support. It's how it keeps doing stuff. It's how it keeps educating people. What is there anything that you wish you'd known before you volunteered, or is there anything that you make sure and tell volunteers now when they come in?
Only that there is going to be a lot of Google Docs. This
is true.
There's no avoiding it. You will be working with, and you will be dealing with Google Docs.
Lots of Google Docs. Yeah.
And that's just, and that seems a little pithy, but that just goes to underscore all of that stuff I've been talking about concerning getting those unfun things out of the way. Like I said, getting the tent set up, getting the table set up, those are the things that make Pagan Pride happen.
So many docs, yes.
So many docs. and much like that, on the organizing side, it is the Google Docs that make things happen. It is the sheets. It is the following up. It is, those are the lifeblood. That is the lifeblood, I should say, of an organization like ours, is not just what we communicate, but how we're communicating and how we're sharing it.
Awesome. All right. So thank you, Chloe, for that lovely feedback on volunteering and how you volunteer. Again, probably the easiest way to find jobs to volunteer for. We're going to be running some social media promotions, but the website, once you sign in as a member, that takes you back to job opportunities and all the places where you can volunteer. Oh, good question. Chloe, what departments have the most urgent need for volunteers right now?
Right now, the most urgent need for volunteers is with... that's actually a really good question. Because I was originally going to say Iduna, because we just had a slate of jobs open with Iduna. And I would recommend that if you have any layout experience, if you have any experience in those spaces of working in print-ish media, please give us a contact, and we would love to have you in.
Especially Adobe, because I think that's the program they're using for Iduna is Adobe.
I believe so.
Which one don't need volunteers right now?
Clergy.
Clergy does not need volunteers right now. Awesome.
Well, they need clergy, but right now they're currently handled through their own volunteering system.
Yep. And they're retooling the program. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with. Actually, I think it'll be really cool. And I have a lot of faith in Reverend Dr. Tim and Reverend Mar to come up with some really beautiful things that, again, help us build community. Okay, so tonight's question, we're going to open up for the question for the audience. tonight's question is, as a nonprofit, we can't talk about political candidates as political parties, but we can talk about issues. What issues are the most important to you all? And we can start with Chloe. If you have one, if you don't, it's cool. But
so this cuts right to the right to the issue of volunteering, because the point that I want to make, the issue that is close to my heart, is whether or not the federal bureaucracy is still going to run after 2025. After the election, what's going to happen to the federal bureaucracy? Because we don't want to think about things like the FCC and the FAA, but as issues that we can address as a religious nonprofit. The issue that I think we're facing is that those kind of things, those bread and butter issues, are going to affect us in ways that we cannot foresee. So for us religiously, for us spiritually, the Havamal says a lot of great things, but it also says to be sober-minded, to be clear of thought, and to be bold in action. So when it comes down to those basic things of how do we feed ourselves, how do we clothe ourselves, how do we get by in life, those are the things I am most worried about. As someone who's also full true to her, there are issues like bodily autonomy and those things. But the thing that ultimately gets to me is those rather boring bread and butter, those rather boring issues of, will we still have people overseeing our meat, because will we still have people overseeing our water?
Right.
Because without water, without these things, without a clean food supply, what are we?
Right.
Because we cannot sustain the soul without sustaining the body.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good one. Okay, so we have a lot of excellent answers to this question. Gun violence. One of the things that I would like to do in October is talk about, the date for that episode, let me look that up real quick, is the 11th. If anyone is interested, I would like to schedule a conversation about heathens and violence, and gun violence is one of the things that I want to talk about, because at least by many anthropologists, and I'm quoting Drawing Down the Moon here, heathens are perceived as, and often are, more politically conservative than other kinds of paganism. So they are actually more likely to own guns and be very protective of the Second Amendment. That doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about gun violence. We should. And we should talk about gun violence with the people that actually own guns. So that's a conversation we'll be having hopefully October 11th. Anyone that's interested, please show up. Human dignity. Do we have more on that? Because, one of the things that I like about working with the Unitarian Universalists is their principle of the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And of course, as an animist, that's every person seen and unseen, right? That's everyone. And the farther down you go, in the web, the more you have to pay attention to that, right? Because so many people don't, right? But yes, human dignity is definitely something we should be talking about as heathens, as what we want to do better, what we want to show better.
Can I just go back to gun violence real quick?
You betcha. Let's go back to gun violence.
Out of all the great statements in the world that you could make, I just want to know, where is the place for pacifism in heathenry? Because so much of our lore and so much of our and so much of that is rooted in this kind of brutalistic violence.
Right.
And while I don't think that it's incompatible, I think that there is a conversation there that I think needs to be had, and I would like to be part of that conversation.
Awesome. See you on the 11th.
Awesome.
Yeah. But yes, I think there is a really important conversation to have there about that. One of the things, queer lives is an issue. We're both under that umbrella. And one of the things that we're saying as the Truth, as an inclusive organization, is that we value that, right? We value queer lives amongst us. We value their experience as much as, the cis heteronormative experience. And that is something that we should talk about more, frankly. The interesting part is Althing considered runs from September to June, so we could cover it in June. And yeah, Pride Month.
I'm down for that.
Poverty. Oh, hitting all the hits today. How do you feel about heathens and poverty?
I feel like this is one of those things where we get to look at our history and really enjoy a deep look at what happened, because whether it was raiding or trading, when you came back with loot, as far as I understand it, I could be wrong. My understanding of this part of history is a little shaky. But if I understood correctly, everyone benefited from that loot. Maybe a little bit, maybe a lot, but everyone benefited from you coming back with coffers full of coin.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that we as heathens now have to look at that and understand that that is the model that we have to look at our future, or not really our future, but our sharing economy, because a gift is really met with a gift, right?
Yes.
And if you show up and you work and you give that gift, why are you not given the gift in return of a living wage?
Right.
And for me, I think that is something that we can get into deeper if we're willing to sit with the resources and sit and possibly think about things that may make us uncomfortable. Because the sharing may not have been even, the sharing may not have been great, but the sharing happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that would be, poverty under capitalism is always sort of an uncomfortable conversation to have, because poverty is a feature, not a bug, in capitalism, to help people work hard. So yeah, how we treat one another, for those of us with poverty, how we help one another out of poverty, those sorts of community building things that our ancestors probably did, and even if they didn't, it's something to help people survive now, right? Making the world better now. Yes. Okay, so we have domestic violence, which is something we are going to cover next month. Lauren, next month is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Lauren will be doing an episode on the 18th. We'll have a pre-recorded interview with, I believe, one of the administrators of the House of Apples, where Lauren got her, our president, Lauren Crow, got her domestic violence advocate certification. And it is a pagan organization because, like many of us, when domestic violence happens, the easiest place for us to find help is through Christian churches. And I'm with Lauren on we really need to change that paradigm for heathens because there's a different message there for us to get out of that than Christians know or understand. So pacifism. Okay, we've got thoughts on what? Pacifism? Because yes, I think one of the things that Ben actually it was a question that he asked during one of these that actually made me think about what kind of life you would have. But he's talking about Nord's feet, right? In the story of Scotty and the feet judging, and Nord has the most beautiful feet, and so she picks him, right? Now, I don't know, boots make your feet kind of weird, right? Especially if you wear them all the time. So what kind of life did Nord live that he had such pretty feet? What kind of lounging, sort of prosperous, sort of, kind, compassionate, whatever life did he have that his feet weren't scarred by boots or hard labor, right?
Right.
Yeah. And again, Vanaheim, right? Chloe is also has a great podcast, Vanaheim Vibes, where she talks to people about their experiences with the Vayner and Freya specifically. I think Nord is one of the Vanir, and why does he have such pretty feet? What kind of life did he live, right?
Right.
Yeah. And this is probably, we have to remember that one of the most corrupting evils is greed. And we have that a lot in our lore. We talk about greed a lot. We talk about people that get turned into dragons because of greed, right? The whole Beowulf, the last dragon. We have Fafnir through greed turns into a dragon. Not good. These are not good things.
But getting onto pacifism, though, there's also Freyr and giving up his sword for love.
Yes. We have some really interesting pacifist models. And some interesting stories about what kind of society that could make. We have a lot of emphasis, both in media and amongst ourselves, even, that we're on this hero's journey as heathens. The problem with the hero's journey is the hero ends up alone, always, right? So rather than pick that kind of journey, there is another journey we could choose, and that is the community building, coming together as a community journey, right? Pacifism.
Oh, I'm okay. I think
I love this take. Yes.
I think it's very spicy, but I'm very into it. It's like a nice hot sauce.
It really is a good take. Yeah. And growing as heathens, our
Yeah.
faith evolves because it has to. If we're talking about building a community that is multi-generational and actually in healthy relationship with one another, then our understanding of the gods changes. Our understanding of the world changes that. And fighting all the time really isn't doing us a great service.
Besides, it's not like there's anyone who could actually adjudicate whether or not anyone's actually right.
This is true. This is true.
I mean, we're a votive religion. We're not creedal. The only wrong way to do it is to not do it.
Nice.
Well, and be folkish, but
well, yeah. I liked the first part. The only way to do it wrong is not do it. I mean, unless you're folkish, and then I'm so sorry. Yeah, that doesn't mean what you think it means, my dudes. Yeah. This is actually a really good. Yeah, actual pagans would throw you into a bog. And yes, thank God we're not living back then. And also,
actual pagans would have a lot more questions before about, what happens in our personal lives. Like, why is it bright outside when it's night?
Yeah.
a lot more immediate questions than about, who we choose to love.
Right? Totally. It's like, oh my gosh. You have so much food. Wow. Yeah. I'm thinking of archaeological sites in Greenland that they found, especially when the climate started to change and they started to, get down to starvation stuff. Yeah, we have so much. The world has given us so much. And we really need to be grateful for it.
Oh, I am grateful every day.
Me too, actually. The world gives me joy every day. Why would I not give that back? Yeah.
That's gonna bake my noodle.
It's one of the things about animism. If you start really thinking about how far what that means, right? I mean, there's a hard line for a lot of people between what we build and what exists, as far as whether it's animate or not. And I'm not gonna lie, all of my cars have names. And if I can't get them to start, I ask them very sweetly if they will start, and usually they do. But it is oh, cool. Yes, animism everywhere. Anyway, okay, so we have another volunteer question.
Just thinking of volunteering again, do you think that there's an attitude these days where people think that nonprofits or civic orgs just provide things or products when they're actually activities that require participation and engagement? This is an excellent point, because
it is.
This gets to the heart of what I think about the truth, about what we're doing here, and that what people have called the troth is some form of like organized heathenry or some variation of like that. But what I think it is participatory heathenry.
Yeah.
We don't have any hard and fast rules about how you should worship and how you should practice. Only that you should worship and practice.
Right.
And in those and in that vein of like, what are you going to do to further your practice? Are you going to do it alone, or are you going to, find group, or are you going to find something? What volunteering can bring that something, not just for yourself, but other people.
Right. Well, and yes, you walk in with skills, and we listen to your not just your skills, but what is meaningful to you in your practice, and then we try to apply you in the right place. Right? We
And
try to
and
put
I
you.
and speaking of skills, I just want to reassure anyone, aside from very specific jobs like scribe, what we're looking for is not whether or not someone has the skills, but rather the desire to get these things done. The skills will come. The skills will come as you do, but you won't do unless you have the desire to do it to begin with.
Right.
So we
We
are
can
looking.
teach skills. We
We
can
can
teach
teach.
skills.
We can't teach enthusiasm.
No, we cannot teach enthusiasm.
I think
And
that's technically propaganda.
no, that's my job. And one of the biggest criticisms of who we are and what we do is that it doesn't this one. Oh, I'm not going to get involved until you XYZ, when it's your participation that would make XYZ more likely to happen. If
Oh,
you're-
that is what. Oh, Ben is playing the hits.
Ben is playing the hits.
Because that is absolutely 100% the case. Because if we are not doing something that that you think we should be doing, let us know, and we'll see what we can do about getting you to do that with us,
Right.
not for us,
With us.
so that way this group effort can all be recognized and we can all contribute.
Yeah, for sure. We have a question. How long is a volunteer commitment?
As long as you want.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
We, as of right now, we do not have any current set volunteer requirements in terms of how long you're required to be in a job. I don't think this has been a problem in the past, but if this does become a problem in the future, maybe we'll revise this. But as of right now, if you get into a position and it turns out to be something that you're just not capable of, or it just wasn't what you thought it would be, then we don't want you to be there any more than you don't want to be there.
Right.
So, and if you don't want to be there, let us know, so that way we can put someone who does want to be there.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the things is basically making your voice heard, right? Because sometimes when you're a volunteer, and I know this has happened to me, life gets bad for some reason. Someone you love gets sick, you get sick, something like that. And what happens a lot is people don't tell us, right? So someone has sort of dropped off the radar for a couple of weeks or whatever, and we don't hear from them again. And that's sad to me, right? Because life happens. We're volunteers. Stuff is going to impact our ability to do our jobs. So letting people know that this is that you can say, to whoever is above you in the org chart, I have this and this and this going on. I'm going to be out for, guess, right? The more we know, the more we can help, basically. And community-driven community, where we care about what you think, we care about what you want to do, we care about what projects you want to work on, and we care about the issues. Oh, Chloe, a question for you.
Oh, I got it off Amazon. You can also find it on Etsy. The original seller sells on Etsy, and they probably get a better commission, better cut from there. So buy off Etsy.
Yeah, Etsy is the bomb for this sort of thing. It's amazing. Also, a lot of our volunteers are artists and artisans and make beautiful stuff. So if you're on our Discord, There is a whole self-promotion channel where a lot of our artists. I have this great. I love to show this because I have this great mushroom candle. That's going to be a very important part of winter nights this year.
Ooh.
And that got some skull candles that went with it. And I mean, it's by one of our people, right? So if you are interested in buying from our people, check out the self-promotion channel on Discord. And as it comes closer to Yule, we'll be making a big list so that talking about it on here so that you all can shop local. And we can battle capitalism just a little bit by buying from people that will actually help, that we know.
Right. I mean, like, that's why I recommended the Etsy link instead of going to Amazon like I did.
Right, right.
We need to make sure that we can sustain an economy of our own efforts and sustain an economy of our own art and our own creation.
Yeah. I mean, we have some amazing artisans, and also we have some people that are really writing books and coming up with different ways to do what we do, different ways to learn about our gods and ancestors and spirits of place. So yeah. Fantastic. Does anyone have any other questions? Let's see. Making sure. How long? Got that. Ben's art is one-liners. Fantastic. All right. Chloe,
if you want to see Ben in his artistic form, just ask him about James Bond and the Romper.
One of the things that I think we forget is, especially with the media portrayals of heathens or our ancestors, is that they're grim and they have no sense of humor. And one of the things that I love about many of the male presenting people in this organization is they all have senses of humor. They're all very funny people. They all care very much about not making this a grim experience. And I appreciate that very much. How both of them.
I mean, have you read the Lonnie Scott's The Java Mall?
The Java Mall is great. Lonnie Scott, our High Steward, is doing a verse a day of his own Java Mall about coffee, and it's both funny in a haha sort of way, and it is sweet. It is touching. It is emotionally engaging, which is what we should be doing with our faith, right? That's the core of it.
We should be doing something with it.
Yes, we should be doing something with it.
We shouldn't be like collectors putting it on a glass case, letting it sit on our shelves.
Right. This should be something that we practice every day, however much you can. Yes, Norseman, actually, the show Norseman on Netflix is very funny. And it's one of it got mentioned. But yes. I really appreciate your time, Chloe. And I really appreciate your hard work.
Thank you.
And I have to say that since I've been part of the organization, the volunteering process has gotten so much better, so much easier. Yeah. So I very much appreciate the professionalism that you've brought to this. I really do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So please join us next week, October 4th at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 6 Pacific, and 1 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And luckily, Althing Considered is recorded and on our YouTube channel, so you can watch it whenever you like. But during that show, we will be talking to Cami Blackwell about dying well in the modern world as heathens, both the practical and the spiritual things that we can do to ready our descendants for our passing and meet our ancestors with pride.
Can I pre-quote?
You betcha. Oh,
I was going to say, can I pre-quote Havamal 47 now, or
you betcha, do it.
cattle die, kinsmen die. What doesn't, even the self must die, but what doesn't die is the reputation of every man who can get himself a good one.
Yes. And that is part of what we're doing here. May your week be blessed, and good night.
Have a good night, everyone.